Richard Dawkins about carbon dating. He makes these statements like his authority of some kind. Well, carbon dating tells us, no, it doesn't. We'll get into that in a minute. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Follow us on Rumble if you'd like, or on Genesis Baptist Church on YouTube, or on Odyssey, Kent Hovind Official, and get us a whole bunch of them on drdino.com, our website. Let's see, tonight, did I get it right? I did. Richard Dawkins, the greatest show on earth. We're going to be whacking it for several more weeks. Sorry about that. I can only take a few minutes at a time. Let's see, Whack an Atheist Wednesday. Fun game we play at Dinosaur Adventureland. It's like the whack-a-mole game, where the mole sticks his head up and you whack him back down. Okay? It's fun, it's fast, it's easy. They stick their head up, say something about evolution. We whack them back down with real science and truth. I forgot my hammer. Here we go. Whack-a-mole. Take real science, whack them back down. And there's SpongeBob. I forgot. SpongeBob imagination. There we go. It started with Professor Dave. His name is still on the shirt, Professor Dave. We got to knock some sense into you. He does great at teaching a lot of different stuff about science. He's really a good teacher. What he's teaching on evolution, though, is wrong. And Dave, I'll debate you anytime, or anybody else, anytime. One topic at a time, no interrupting. Can you handle that? Okay. Let's see. Adults love whack-a-mole. As whack an atheist, stick their head up, make a silly claim that evolution is or science. It's not science, it's a religion. And we whack them back down. Let's see, some are hard-headed, got to be whacked over and over and over to keep their head up. So I taught high schoolers 15 years. I'm used to this hard-headed stuff, okay? How's that for photoshopping, brother? Can you tell? Can you tell I put my head on there? That's pretty good, isn't it? I'm not much on, never mind, okay. So the winner tonight, Richard Dawkins, okay. This is from a lecture he did thank you, ma'am. A lecture he did 4 years ago at Duke University. Who is Gashmu? Well, in the Bible, God told Nehemiah to build a wall around Jerusalem. You can read the book of Nehemiah back in the Old Testament about that. The enemies wanted to stop him. They didn't want him to build a wall because they liked having the people be servants of them, all right? So they sent a very important man to tell him to stop building the wall. The guy's name was Gashmu. Well, if he said it, it's got to be true, okay? Very important man. So it's written, it is reported among the heathen, and Gashmu saith it. Ooh, that's what the atheists do. Well, Richard Dawkins said, who cares? He cares, and he's the only one. I don't care what he says, okay, or believe. See, Gashmu said it. Wow, this is the appeal to authority. If a guy has a big hat and a big feather in it, he has to be important. You can tell how important he is by the size of the feather. If a guy has big hat and holds 2 sticks, ooh, now he's really important. Yeah. If he says anything while he's sitting in that chair, it must be true. Don't question anything he says. This is the appeal to authority that they use with Richard Dawkins, appeal to authority. A claim that's said to be true because some authority figure said it. The appeal to authority is one of the logical fallacies, okay? So Richard Dawkins wrote a book about evolution. Well, if he wrote a book about it, it's got to be true, doesn't it? He wrote a book about it, yeah. So let's take up where we left off at about the 12-minute mark last time. And let's see, did I get it right? I got 40 buttons open on my dash PowerPoint. I guess I got to go to, no, one more, click. There. Now I come over here, see if I got it.
This is selection by an eye, not a human eye and not a peahen's eye, selection by an eye. Now we're ready in the seduction to go to the final step and say that any kind of survival will do the trick. The anglerfish that has the best bait, the best lure, is the one that survives because it's the least likely to starve. But anything that increases the likelihood of survival, however obscurely wrapped up inside the animal it may be, however invisible to not only our eyes, but to any other creature's eyes it may be, survival itself is all it takes to determine the non-random survival of genes that made the desirable characteristic.
Okay, now Richard, does that mean it's going to add information and change to something else? See, you're talking about survival of the fittest, which I think is pretty intuitive. It works. It doesn't explain the arrival of the fittest. It doesn't explain how they can change. It just keeps the species strong. The weaker ones don't survive. You're not going to make something new out of it. How do you guys make that giant leap of logic? Lack of logic. Okay.
And so as the generations go by, the number of genes that are successful in building bodies that are good at surviving, those genes are the ones that do survive, by definition almost tautologically. Those genes that are good at building bodies that survive are the ones that we see in gene pools, in species, all over the world. And that is natural selection. And it follows so beautifully, so elegantly from artificial selection, which long before Darwin, farmers, gardeners, dog breeders, pigeon fanciers, etc., understood.
See, artificial selection is what every farmer does. If they grow a crop of potatoes and 20 of them taste better than the rest, well, then they'll save those 20 to make the next generation for those, so they get a whole crop of good tasting potatoes next year, or baked strawberries, or cows that give a lot of milk, or anything. Farmers artificially select which ones they want to breed for the next generation. That doesn't create anything, Richard. It selects what's already there. How can you guys not? Crybaby, go ahead and comment. We know you're chomping at the keyboard there.
Nobody, or hardly anybody before the mid-19th century, made that really quite easy step. You've only got to go towards removing the human eye and substituting just plain survival.
So make the easy step. Wow, humans are selecting. Maybe nature is selecting also. Wow, and Darwin in his book about evolution by means of natural selection.
Naked survival, that will do the trick. And that is natural selection.
Okay, well, I'm gonna come back to you in a minute, Richard. Hold it right there. Bite your tongue, okay? Let's see. If I can get up here, come back over here. There. We all agree natural selection works. Natural selection selects. It doesn't create anything. We got no argument against natural selection. We thought of it first, okay? It's a conservative process. It only conserves things. It does not keep, it keeps the species strong. It does not create anything. It does not promote speciation. It just simply selects. It's not a creative force. Wise up, you guys that believe in this dumb religion of evolution. Natural selection can only act on biological properties that already exist. It cannot create properties in order to meet adaptational needs. They've known this for a long time. Natural selection selects. Darwin and his bird beaks. Well, if you turn all the finches loose on an island and the only food there is nuts that are hard to crack, only the ones with a tough beak are going to make it. Okay? Did it make the tough beak? No, some already had a tough beak and they survived. That's all. Natural selection is survival of the fittest, and it doesn't explain arrival of the fittest. Okay, let me go back to Richard here. I want to get to one more thing tonight, focus on carbon dating. Okay.
And that is the dominant force in evolution, at least the dominant force for producing adaptive evolution.
Right.
The dominant force for producing the overpowering illusion of design.
Overpowering illusion of design. Wow. You'd almost think it was designed if you didn't know better, wouldn't you, Richard? I'll tell you what. Let me ask you a question. This has it looks like it was designed. That cap fits right on the pen. But I think this is all made of natural, well, plastics, I don't know, hydrocarbons. We could call it natural components that have been modified. Maybe a lightning strike modified the hydrocarbons into plastic. And maybe this whole thing was not designed. Could it be argued nobody made the ink pen? By an idiot, yeah. And you'd be an idiot to think your fingernail was not designed, Richard, or one cell in your body. And you're going to stand before God here soon. I mean, you're getting old, okay? And he's going to say, how could you believe something so dumb? I want to get to your carbon dating statement, though. This is going to take me where I want to go. Let's see. Right. How did I get all these things open on my, come over here.
Which, as David Hume said, ravishes into admiration all who have ever contemplated it.
So it looks like it's designed and it makes you want to really contemplate. Yeah. But see, that would draw you to the Lord, wouldn't it? Oh, you don't want that. You don't want your students coming to the Lord after they contemplate the amazing complexity or how to make baby series. Don't go to the Lord. No. Yeah.
There has to be enough time for this to happen. As I said, breeding Pekingeses from wolves takes a matter of centuries. And then I said, think what could be accomplished in hundreds of millions of years. Well, hundreds of millions of years is what we've got.
That's what you think you've got, okay? That's your pacifier. Time and more time. Yeah, more time. That doesn't do it. That you guys think you've got. So the dogs and wolves came from a common ancestor. Therefore, over billions of years, the dogs came from an amoeba. And they're related to a banana. That's what you believe, isn't it? Natural selection works, but it only selects. Let me get to time here. Right. Man, never mind. Okay. We'll skip the part about the quality control and all the different dogs of the world having a common ancestor. There has to be enough time for it to happen. This is what you said, Richard. Okay. Now, hold it. If I told you, if you kiss a frog, it would turn to a prince. Patch the pirate died a couple of years ago. He was a good friend of mine. You'd say, no, Brother Hovind, frogs don't turn to princes. Well, in the textbooks, they do. See, boys and girls, we started like an amoeba, very slowly. That's the secret. Time became a frog. There he is. And then slowly turned to a prince. So if the frog turns to the prince quickly, that's a fairy tale. But if the frog turns to the prince slowly, that's modern science. Listen to me. That's stupid, okay? Look it up. Stupid. All right, Richard, talk some more.
Because geology tells us that
So geology tells us we've got lots of time.
Life has been around for actually about 4 billion years, 4 billion years. I didn't mean to say billion twice, you understand. So chapter 4 is called Silence and Slow Time, which is a quotation from Keats, as you all know. And it is about the way we know how old the rocks are, and therefore how old the fossils are that are in the rocks.
Did you catch what he said? We know how old the rocks are, and therefore we know how old the fossils are. They date the fossils by the rocks they find them in, the stupid geologic column. And he admitted it. And most scientists, if they were honest, would admit we date the fossils by where we found them. And I've covered that many times. This is called circular reasoning. Let me get to that one here. I think I've got to go to seminar part 7. Yeah, okay. Okay, so let's talk about this. Dating the rocks. Carbon dating. Does it work? We've touched on this a couple times, but I want to really hammer it tonight. Carbon is what coal is made out of. It's also what diamonds are made out of. So when coal and diamond go out on a date, that would be carbon dating. Look at that right there. Carbon. You look older. I've been under a lot of pressure. It's a joke, okay? Anna, I'll explain it to you later. All right. Fossils are really dated by their position in the geologic column, which was invented in 1830 and does not exist anywhere in the world, okay? If the top layer is younger, where did it come from? Outer space? You guys are not answering my question. How can the layers be different ages? Okay, I use the illustration. If you walked into a room, found a candle burning on a table, and asked you the question, when was it lit? Well, the empirical science we can do, we can measure how tall the candle is. Nobody's going to argue the candle is 7 inches tall. Okay, right now, when was it lit? Well, that I can't tell from that. Give me some more data, all right? Let's see. Let's look at the rate of burn. We measure this thing carefully. Olympic stopwatch, and it's burning 1 inch an hour. So I got 2 facts nobody's arguing about. It is 7 inches tall. It's burning 1 inch an hour. When was it lit? You can't tell me unless you make some assumptions. How tall was it when it started? We don't know. Has it always burned at the same rate? We don't know. Is there anything that can influence the rate of a candle burn? Slight breeze in the room, more oxygen in the room? Yeah, okay. Radiometric dating would not have been feasible if the geologic column had not been erected first. So they date the rocks by the fossils and the fossils by the rock. This is complete circular reasoning. The geologist thinks that the biologist has proven evolution. The biologist says, oh, the anthropologist has proven it. They go around in a big circle. Nobody's proven it. It's not true. Ever since William Smith, fossils have been and still are the best and most accurate method of dating and correlating the rocks in which they occur. How do they date the rocks or the fossils? By the rocks. Apart from modern examples, I can think of no cases of radioactive decay being used to date fossils. Okay. Bad news for radiometric dating. Let's see. Radiometric dating is largely done on rock that is formed from solidified lava. I would agree with that. Most people are not aware of the many processes that take place in lava before it erupts. So before it comes out of the ground, there's a lot going on down there, and that alters the radioactive dating within that same lava cone. Read that article. Good news for Christians about that one, okay? Radiometric dating problems and their assumptions from Answers in Genesis. Great article on that. Let's see. Radiometric dating. Students may also be aware that bad assumptions and contamination can result in inaccurate dates. Oh, no. You mean you might not get a right date? Wow. Let's see. The way it really is, little known facts about radiometric dating. Creation.com has a great article on that. Science Daily. Inaccuracies in carbon dating from Cornell University. Let's see. Radiocarbon dating is a key tool archaeologists use to determine age of plants and objects made with organic material. New research shows that commonly accepted radiocarbon date standards can miss the mark. Yeah. Earth's atmosphere is about 300 miles thick, but most of it's within 10 miles, okay? So at sea level, there's about 14.7 pounds per square inch, right? Most of Earth's atmosphere is within 10 miles. Atmosphere is mostly nitrogen, a little bit of oxygen, 21%, and a tiny bit of carbon dioxide, and a real tiny bit of radioactive carbon, C14 they call it. C14 slowly breaks apart and turns back to carbon-12. It releases some stuff and it changes to a new molecule, okay, new atom. Radiation from the sun strikes the atmosphere, and that's what produces the carbon-14. Normally it's carbon-12 on the periodic table. Willard Libby in 1955 published in Time magazine about how this happens. He's the one really credited with creating carbon dating. The carbon-14 process. Cosmic rays bombard nitrogen in the upper atmosphere. They knock a proton out of the nitrogen nucleus, forming carbon-14. Carbon-14 then combines with oxygen to form carbon dioxide. And the plants are breathing it in. So a little bit of what the plants are breathing, and they don't care what they breathe, apparently, some of it's radioactive. Wow. Cosmic radiation converts 21 pounds of nitrogen to C14 every year over the whole world. How much are 21 pounds spread over the whole world? Not much, okay? Here's carbon and nitrogen on the periodic table right there, all right? So carbon Geiger counter is used to detect radioactive elements like uranium, potassium, carbon, etc., okay? Radioactive carbon is being produced in the atmosphere by the sun. It breaks down back to nitrogen at the rate of half of it every 5,730 years. During photosynthesis, plants breathe in CO2, make it part of their tissue. Animals come along and eat the plants, and now it's part of the animal body. So the plants are constantly breathing it out of the atmosphere, and it's assumed what they're breathing, is it getting in their body, is the same as in the air. If they're breathing if the air is 0.0000765%, so are the plants, all right? So it's assumed the ratio of the radioactive carbon in the atmosphere would be the same in the plants and animals. Atmosphere is that much. Well, let's say the plants have the same, and then the animals that are living would all have the same. This is one faulty assumption, okay? When the plant or animal dies, it stops taking in C14. I could agree with that. So they compare the amount in the object being dated with the amount currently in the atmosphere. If it only has half as much, it's been through one half-life of 5,730 years. So it begins to decay. And it can't get any more, so it goes out of balance. This is the decay rate. If it's giving you 0.0003825, well, that's only got half as much. It's been dead 5,700 years. So it goes from a half to a fourth to an eighth to a 16th. There should be none measurable after 40 or 50,000 years. So when people say, we know that's millions of years old because of carbon dating, you can rest assured they don't have a clue what they're talking about. Write them off as stupid, okay? So you go from 16 clicks per minute, if it's still alive on your Geiger counter, down to 8 clicks per minute. Oh, it's 5,700 years old. Oh, we're only getting 4 clicks per minute. Now we're only getting 2 clicks per minute. With their short half-life, no carbon-14 should be older than 250,000. It's proven impossible to find any natural source of carbon below the Ice Age that does not contain significant amounts of C14. So what's wrong here? Even though such strata are supposed to be millions or billions of years old. They can't figure it out, huh? The world's best laboratory learned during 2 decades of low C14 measurements how not to contaminate specimens. Under contract to a creationist, confirmed the observations for coal and even for a dozen diamonds, which cannot be contaminated in situ with recent carbon. These constitute very strong evidence the Earth is only thousands, not billions of years old, ICR.org. So they got some assumptions involved in this. If I told you to fill a barrel with water, but I've drilled holes in the barrel, as you're putting it in, it starts leaking out. At some point, you're going to reach a stage called equilibrium. You cannot add any more water because it's leaking as fast as you put it in. So that's called the equilibrium. Has the Earth's atmosphere reached equilibrium? Well, if the sun is making it, that's filling the barrel, and it's breaking apart, that's leaking the barrel, how long should it take to reach equilibrium? One assumption is that global levels of C14 has not changed. The other assumption is the corollary. The biosphere has the same overall concentration of carbon due to equilibrium. Well, is it? Inaccuracies in radiocarbon dating. Radiocarbon dating is a key tool. But new research shows commonly accepted radiocarbon dating can miss the mark. Science Daily. The freshwater reservoir effect in carbon dating. What? Fresh water can affect results in an anomaly and make an old radiocarbon age of samples in lakes and waters. That includes the bones of people who lived on those lakes. So maybe they're drinking water that's changing their C14. See, you don't know the initial content. That's my candle illustration. How tall was it? You don't know. Let's see. Freshwater fish and pottery in which the fish was cooked. Water-rich in dissolved ancient calcium can change this. It's been known for more than 60 years. Archaeologists, well recognized by archaeologists, the marine reservoir effect, it's called. Freshwater reservoir over short and long timescales. Radiocarbon dating of recent water samples, aquatic plants and animals, show that age differences up to 2,000 years can occur within one river. Guys, don't trust carbon dating, okay? The examples in this study clearly show the freshwater reservoir effect can seriously corrupt carbon dating at inland sites. Let's see. Throughout the entire history of radiocarbon dating, new sources of error have appeared, have been examined, and corrections have been found. Of particular interest and complexity are the so-called reservoir effects, which result in ages that are too old. One of the basic assumptions is that a sample incorporates carbon in equilibrium. Well, hold it. If it's not in equilibrium yet, you can't measure anything because you don't know what was in it when it died. You'd have to know when it lived to be able to figure out when it lived. Think about it. Let's see. The marine reservoir effect is well acknowledged among archaeologists, although knee-jerk subtraction of 400 years from carbon dating might be too simplistic. Has carbon dating been debunked? Radiocarbon dating is used to calculate the age of certain organic materials, has been found to be unreliable, and sometimes wildly so. A discovery that could upset previous studies. Though radiocarbon dating is startlingly accurate for the most part, they're dreaming about that, cosmic rays and changes in Earth's climate can cause irregularities in C14. Wow, they've known that for 10 years. Let's see. New research shows some estimates based on carbon may have erred by thousands of years. In some cases, the latter ratio appears to be a much more accurate gauge of age than the customary method of carbon dating. Errors are feared in carbon dating, New York Times. Radiocarbon dating, a closer look at its main flaws. Well, let's see. Invented by Willard Libby, 1949, it's been invaluable in the discipline. In fact, many important archaeological artifacts are dated using this method, like the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Shroud of Turin. Although radiocarbon dating is startlingly accurate for the most part, it has a few sizable flaws. Cosmic rays and changes in Earth's climate can cause irregularities. Humans began making an impact during the Industrial Revolution. They started burning coal in the factories, and that changed the amount in the atmosphere. So go back to the candle. How long has it been burning? You don't know how tall it was, do you? And you don't know it's always been the same rate. Carbon-14 nearly doubled in the 50s and 60s because of the atomic bomb testings. Crucial archaeological dating tool was wrong. One of the most important dating tools for archaeology may sometimes give misleading data, new study shows, It could change the whole historical timeline. Oh, no. We know from atmospheric measurements over the last 50 years that radiocarbon levels vary through the year. Maybe in the summer there's more than in the winter. Really? We know that plants typically grow at different times in different parts of the northern hemisphere. So we wondered whether the radiocarbon levels relevant to dating organic material might vary. Sure enough, they did. Read the article. Carbon dating has suffered from artificial manipulation due to human impact. So we're burning fuel and setting off nuclear bombs. We messed it all up, guys. Physics.org had a good article. Research illuminates inaccuracies in radiocarbon dating. It's been calculated it would take 30,000 years for Earth's atmosphere to reach equilibrium. If you made a brand new planet Earth, put air around it, stuck it out, going around the sun, the sunlight would start forming carbon-14, filling the barrel, and it would start breaking down, emptying the holes in the barrel. In 30,000 years, we would reach equilibrium where it's everything steady. No problem. It's probably reasonable. We know the Earth is billions of years old, they say, or millions of years old. So we can ignore the equilibrium problem. Oh, no, I'm sorry, you can't. It has still not reached equilibrium. Radiocarbon is forming 28 to 37% faster than it's decaying, which means you cannot radiocarbon date anything. Nothing, okay? Fluctuations in the C14 production rate means times the production rate will exceed the decay rate. Other times the decay rate will be larger. So the first assumption is that the atmosphere has always been the same, reached equilibrium. That has been proven wrong, okay? Sorry, back to my candle. When was it lit? You can't know how tall it was, okay? And you don't know it's always burned the same rate. If you find a fossil in the dirt, you know it died. The amount of C14 can be measured today, and the rate of decay can be measured today. That's it. How much was in it when it died? I don't know. Has it always decayed the same rate? I don't know, and neither do you, okay? So radiation from the sun would do this. So let me skip through all this. Errors feared in inaccurate dating, inaccurate carbon dating, inaccuracies of carbon dating. Emission of fossil fuels may limit carbon dating. Wow. Growing emissions from burning of fossil fuels threaten the effectiveness of carbon dating. Bad dates. I got a ton of articles on this. Living mollusk shells dated 2,300 years old. But that was back in 63. Maybe they're getting better at it. Let's see. If a carbon date supports our theories, we put it in the main text. If it does not entirely contradict it, we put it in a footnote. If it's completely out of date, we drop it. They pick the dates they want. Freshly killed seal dated 1,300 years old. It just died, fellas. It's not 1,300 years old, okay? Troubles of radiocarbon dating are undeniably deep and serious. You can read the article for yourself. No matter how useful it is, there are gross discrepancies. Chronology is uneven and relative. The accepted dates are actually selected dates. 1981, well, does it get any better? Shells from living snails, carbon dated 27,000 years old. They're still crawling around on the table, guys. Human skeletons, dated, all 11 were dated 5,000 years or less. 1985, 2 Colorado Creek mammoths side by side, 22,000 and 16,000. 92, I guess it's not getting much better, is it? Anyway, we've been through all this before on other parts of my seminar. I want to get to one more thought tonight from Richard Dawkins, okay? Let's see. You can hit freeze frame and watch these for yourself. Absolute date was obtained for the Gandong beds. It has the interesting age of 300,000 years, plus or minus 300,000 years. How old is it? Problems with assumptions, carbon dating. Living penguins date 8,000 years old. Layers where dinosaur bones are found, carbon date 34,000 years old. How is that possible, guys? I thought dinosaurs were 70 million years ago. Okay, one more thought from Gashmu here, and then I want to wrap it up with potassium-argon dating real quick. Is this it? Okay, take it away, Richard. You can tell when he's lying. It's real easy. His lips are moving. Okay, watch.
We do it using what physicists tell us. Physicists tell us the half-life of radioactive isotopes. And igneous rock, that's rock that's formed from molten lava, that solidifies. At the moment when the molten lava solidifies, the clock is zeroed.
Okay, you think so, Richard? At the moment the molten rock is solidified, the clock is zeroed. Really? Okay, let's shut that down. Bad dates, potassium argon dating. Here we go. Just get a couple of these. Potassium argon. The best known dating techniques are carbon dating, potassium argon, uranium lead dating. Okay, there's a bunch more, but those are the main ones they use. Radioactive dating failure. Let's see, this is a recent volcano in New Zealand, lava flows. Oh, what'd they get? Well, in 1949, they dated a lava flow. They knew it erupted in 1949. They saw it happen, but they dated it, what, 1 million years old. Huh. Well, in 1954, they knew it erupted in 1954, but it dated 1.5 million years old. What happened? This potassium argon, let's see, potassium has a half-life of 1.3 billion years. As much as 80% of a potassium in a small sample of an iron meteorite can be removed by distilled water in 4.5 hours. Well, you don't know the decay rate's always been the same, do you? If half of it was taken out in 4 hours, but you're calling the half-life 1.3 billion. The KBS tuff, that's a layer of ash, named for K. Brenzenmeyer, was potassium argon dated at 212 to 230 million years old, Nature magazine. Okay? All right? That's what they said. Then they found a human skull, perfectly normal human skull under the KBS tuff. Well, guess what? That would mean perfectly normal humans were here 200 million years ago. You can't have that, can you? Oh, it doesn't fit. So they redated it. They would never have checked it if they hadn't found that human skull, okay? 10 samples were dated from half a million to 2.6 million. That's way down from 212. But even that's a 500% error. Guys, stop and think. George Buffon said in 1770 the Earth is 70,000 years old. 1905, the textbook says it's 2 billion years old. I got old textbooks right here. Minneapolis Tribune, 1969, they went to the moon. They said, folks, the moon and the Earth are 3.5 billion years old. That's the number I was taught when I was a kid. 3.5 billion. Dated with potassium argon dating. There it is, potassium 40. Wow. Today they're taught it's 4.6 billion years old. Earth is getting older at the rate of 21 million years per minute. That's 21 million years per year. 40 years per minute, aging rapidly, man. See, if a radiometric date doesn't fit the mode, they get wild dates. They just throw them out. I'll show you. Mount Etna erupted in 122 BC, but they gave that lava a date of 250 million years old. Guys, they knew when it erupted. There's Mount Etna. Smithsonian has an article about Mount Etna. On the coast of Sicily, has the longest documented records of volcano activity, volcanism. Wow, okay. There's Mount Etna right there, a little dot in the middle, blowing off an ash plume. Spectacular eruption and high cloud of lava ash released in 2021. Mount Etna, the Greek god, they said, oh, if the gods are rolling over, it's making the volcano uncomfortable. For famous eruption in 475 BCE. Notice they're using BCE, before the Common Era, instead of before Christ. And it's CE, Common Era. They don't want to say Anno Domini, in the year of our Lord. That's another long story. Okay. So from 1500 BC up until 1669, they recorded 71 eruptions of this volcano. Oh, okay. Between 1669 and 1900, there were 26 more. So they know, they've got the dates, they know what's happening. It erupted in the 20th century a bunch of times. But when they dated the lava from the 1964 lava flow, it was 700,000 years old. What happened, guys? When they dated the lava from the 1972 lava flow, it was 350,000 years old. This is potassium argon dating you guys are relying on. In 1801, a volcano erupted, and they gave it an age of 1.6 million years old. This is using potassium argon dating. Another Hawaiian volcano erupted, 1959. When they dated it with potassium argon, it was 8.5 million years old. New lava dome in Mount St. Helens, dated all kinds of different numbers from there. They took a brand new lava sample, and dating the whole rock, they got 0.35 million. Dating amphibole, they got 900,000. They get different dates from the same rock. So the assumptions for potassium argon, you date a rock of known age, we know it doesn't work. But if you date a rock of unknown age, it works. Same assumptions with potassium argon dating. There's a good book on that topic, which we have in our bookstore. If you can only afford one book, is there a price on here? Oh yeah, $19. This is what, 500 pages? No, nearly 1,000 pages, 992. One of the best books, Evolution Handbook. Got a whole section on cavemen, a section on carbon dating. If you can only afford one, I would get this one. If you want more, get my video on carbon dating that I did on that. The New Answers book, $19. Whole bunch on carbon dating here from Master Books, great publisher of Christian books. Okay, you got all that already? Man, you're fast, brother. Radioisotopes from ICR.org. So good argument there. Anyway, Richard, I didn't get very far in your speech, but if you are relying on the geologist telling you the Earth is billions of years old, so you can have lots and lots of time to turn your frog to a prince, you got brainwashed. And you're brainwashing others, and you're using your authority, your perceived authority, to make other people doubt the Word of God. You know, the best evidence, one more thought, the absolute best evidence for an age of the Earth is an eyewitness. We got one. An eyewitness, let's see, right here. 145, Alt-DV, 145, enter. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. I bet he knows how old it is. He was there, he did it, okay? Let's see. Jesus said in John 1:1, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Everything was made by him. Jesus made everything, so he should know how old it is. What did he say about it? The Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. That would be Jesus. Jesus created all things, Colossians 1. So that's why one of many verses, Jesus is God in the flesh. Jesus answered and said, have you not read that he which made them at the beginning, made them male and female, Adam and Eve? Well, Jesus said the creation was Adam and Eve. That was the beginning. He was an eyewitness. Much better than your potassium argon dating. He claimed that was the beginning. From the beginning of the creation, God made them male and female. He's the one who did it. He ought to know. He was there, okay? Bible says nothing died till man sinned. Nothing died till Adam sinned. And God made everything in 6 days. Exodus 20, 10 commandments. And the first man was Adam. And Adam's wife was the mother of all living. That's what the Bible says, Eve. So it could not be more clear. Adam's 130. Seth is 105 when his baby's born. Enos is 90 when his son is born. You make the chart, you add up the dates, you can get what everybody else has done all through history. It comes to about 6,000 years ago, 4,000 BC. Add up the numbers yourself, Genesis 5. We got an eyewitness, says the earth is 6,000 years old. You're going to believe your carbon dating, which doesn't work, and your potassium argon dating, or rubidium strontium, or lead 208, lead 206. I'm sorry, you got brainwashed, Mr. Dawkins. Gashmu. Sorry. So, any questions or comments?
Yes, sir.
Crybaby, did he put one in? He did?
Yeah, I think you already answered it.
We're going to get you converted, Crybaby. Radiocarbon dating has been repeatedly tested, demonstrating its accuracy. Where have you been for the last 40 minutes, son? I gave the sources. I showed you. No, you really got brainwashed, okay? Didn't take a whole lot of water for you, but they did it, all right? Do you realize it's been tested on items of known age, such as the Dead Sea Scrolls and wood from an Egyptian tomb? Oh, occasionally you may get a right number. It should work every time, shouldn't it? Sorry, crybaby. Let's see. There. Dylan. Kent, was there ever justified lying in the Bible? In other words, God ever commanded lying or stealing? It's ever okay to lie or steal in certain circumstances? Abraham or Sarah, Egyptian. Good question, a complicated answer that would take a whole program some other time, okay? Is it okay to shoot somebody? Depends on the situation. During wartime, yeah. If they're attacking you, shoot them. If they're breaking into your house, you shoot them. Is it okay to kill somebody? Yeah, under certain situations it is. Is it okay to deceive your enemy? Isn't that what all camouflage clothing is about? Is that lying to the enemy soldiers putting on camo clothing? Oh, I'm not really here. Is that lying? It'd take a long time to answer that. Good question. I'll have to devote a program to that some other time, okay? Creature feature. Should you talk about the amazing dragonfly making babies? Oh, creature. I've got so many animals lined up that I need to talk about. Atheists aren't answering any of them. Come on, guys. How did it evolve? Taylor, how do you evolutionists believe the atmosphere evolved into its current state? Billions and billions of years. That's their answer to everything, okay? Taylor, come visit Dinosaur Adventureland. I'll have you on my program here. Chris, Praise the I Am is promoting a new scientific method of chirality, factoring as proof for a creationism. Wonder if Doc could do a lecture. Chirality is the way it spins, okay? I covered that just a little bit on seminar part 7 of my video series here. Do you have that one up there? Watch how fast he is. Watch this. Seminar creation series. Whew. You're good, brother. Not enough for a raise, but really good. Okay. Any more? That's it. Okay. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow. Comments.